Reading is arguably the most enjoyable activity ever existed in this world, at least for me. But it's not that easy to stick to, and it doesn't feel enjoyable unless you stick with it for a long time. When you can tangibly feel your momentum and see how much it changed you as a character, and how easier the notion of reading War and Peace has become. I haven't read that book, by the way, I'm just saying it doesn't sound as scary as before. Yeah, but there's the rub. Getting started with that momentum is really difficult, especially when you have 20 notifications on your phone that are far easier to crack open like a candy bar. But what if I told you that there's a very easy way that you can turn this arduous activity into the most addictive one? Can you even believe that you can get addicted to reading? Well, I did. So I'm here to tell you that it's humanly possible. And I'm guessing that you're a human being, so why not? Unless you're an alien, in which case go ask your own kind. I honestly don't know how your brain works or if you guys even read books. So shoot, let me tell you about my relationship with reading and how we became really close friends. And I have to say I'm really proud of this intellectually engrossing friendship. Real proud. I could throw my hat into the air. Heck, I could fly right into space like a rocket. But let's just get back to Earth. It all goes back to one moment in my life. When I was in 8th grade, someone bought me a very cheap tablet. Yeah, it was very cheap, but okay, wait for it. It will get real expensive down this storyline. When I received it, I was over the moon for it. Because it was the first digital tool that I had ever put my hands on. I was literally like a caveman seeing screens for the first time. That was how thrilled I was. But that excitement didn't really last for long. At the time, there was not that many applications that I could explore. So I thought, let's just use it for studying purposes. I started researching, Googling about my school project and anything that I wanted to ace my test on. Googling was becoming the best part of my day. But then, one day, as I was studying English, I came across a website that had a bunch of books on it for free. So I thought, why not? Let's give one of them a shot. I'm bored anyway, it can't get any more boring than that. And I did. And it turns out that moment changed the entire course of my life. That boring device that had no applications on it suddenly offered me a friend that I never had. I found a lifelong cure to my boredom. Finally, I could soothe my craving brain. I could for once in my life feel understood. It was like magic. For all my life, I thought I was a weird-minded person that had no similarities to humans around her. But I just didn't know that there are so many other weird minds on this planet that I love talking and conversing with. So I got extremely obsessed. Sometimes I would end up reading 200 pages in a day, and I was coming across all sorts of ideas. I was getting to know myself so much better, along with the characters I was reading about. And slowly, it became my only sanctuary amidst all the busy chaos of school. I couldn't wait to get home to hop on my tablet, prop open my books, and to just read on. It was insane. I was going like a manic person, and that was also the beginning of my short-sightedness. Yeah, I lost my healthy eye over the piercing light of that cheap tablet. I mean, it had no light blocker, so I had to sacrifice my eyes for it. But so what? I didn't care. I didn't care because I was in love. I was on a quest to know as much as one can possibly dream of. See, boredom got me into reading, an element that does not exist anymore. You can't possibly get bored amongst all these stimulating platforms. So what can you do? That story I just told you, that was a long time ago. And so much happened since then. College threw me out of reading. Then I got back on it in pandemic. Then again, I got into the shallow scrolling phenomena. You know the drill. So for about a year ago, I started searching for ways to make reading an inseparable part of my life again. And the results are amazing. The first trick that absolutely revolutionized the way I looked at reading was making it a challenge, making it a daily game. I would set out to read 50 pages every single day for about a month, and it honestly got me really curious. I wanted to genuinely know if I can keep that streak for a month. It was becoming the most entertaining part of my day. It was like I'll prove you wrong kind of game, because in the beginning of each day, there would come a voice at the back of my head telling me, "Oh, I think this is the last day of your streak." And oh boy, I'd be furious and fueled to prove it wrong. And then I got into analoging it as well, which made the whole game even more captivating. At the end of each day, I would prop open my notebook and document the pages I have read. And trust me, the feeling of pride that it gives you is worth more than 1,000 hours of scrolling. And I think the reason behind the effectiveness of this notebook is that you get to make that reading more tangible. It's no longer a figment of your imagination. It's becoming real as as you write it down. And that's exactly why I always emphasize on writing and documenting your plans. When you write down your goals, you are making it 50% more real. And the next 50% is going to come just because you have brought it into the physical realm of ink and paper. And because of that, I would say, make notes of favorite part of each book. Take your time and keep writing down your thoughts. This is a great way to ensure that you will be retaining the information even more. The process of writing it with your hand is hands down the most effective way of engaging with a book. It's a way to personalize the book. And if I were to give you my own example, it would be like destroying the entire book by note-taking. And on top of that, I would be keeping a stack of notes because that's just the way I learn. I learn by writing down my thoughts about the specific material that I am consuming. And if you have any objection about that, if you want to come up to me and say, oh, Sarah, that's not really productive, it's not even efficient. Why would you wear the whole book out because you want to write down your arbitrary thoughts? To that, I would say, I don't care. I do it because it makes the reading process even more enjoyable. So I am benefiting from it. Even though it might not be super efficient, I couldn't care less. So what? Not everything should be efficient. I mean, you're not a robot. You're a human being. Have some grace on yourself. So something else that I also do, and I don't know if it's gonna work for you, but it does work for me, and it's based on the artistic side of me. So I like things that are aesthetically pleasing. It really gives me joy to have those things around, especially when I'm learning. I would have like beautiful highlighters and some gorgeous sticky notes and my favorite pen that can write with ease. All of that just makes the reading process so much easier. It's like having a dessert with the broccoli. I mean, not that reading is like eating broccoli, and not that broccoli is bad, but not that reading is broccoli, because reading is also not bad. So why should I say that broccoli is bad? Okay, I'm confused. Just get the analogy. The second most important trick that has been very helpful is to know the author first and then get on with the reading. This is the secret behind most of my reading. I study the writer's biography and the why behind his writing, and then I can't help but read his work. It just goes naturally like that, because when you know the author, you can guess at the motive behind the work, and that makes you engage with it on a deeper level. It would make it like you're reading a letter from a friend. And what I did was to dig even deeper and see how the writer's earlier works developed into the famous masterpiece. This actually reminds me of what Elon Musk said at some point. He said, your brain is wired to get rid of information that has no relevance. And I think that explains it perfectly. And I would even go further to find other authors that inspired the writer and go on to read their work as well. And that is how I embark on the chain of writers, and I just go on to study them and then read their book. It just comes very naturally. The next trick that I have implemented in my reading journey is to read reviews of that specific book, and I would go on communities talking about that book and watch reviews on YouTube just to familiarize myself with it and to see what the book is about, so that I'm not diving headfirst into it. I am making myself even more curious by reading these opinions about the book. I really want to know whether or not their opinion is gonna hold true after I finish the book. So that's another curiosity element that I add to the game. The whole process should become a game to you. And these are the tricks that I am using to make it even more like a game. Something else that is quite like the previous step is to join communities online that are talking about specific genres of books that you love or you think that you should be reading, and you're not feeling motivated to do so just because you don't have people around you that are interested in that same thing. And what you need to do is to surround yourself with people that are interested in reading, so that you become interested in reading by default, and it just happens to because you want to fit in. And so choose the right group of people so that you become the right person, and that's for everything, not just for reading. And I think there's another element to it. which is FOMO. Fearing of missing out from that community is like very big when you're in a reading community. You feel like, okay, I need to have conversation with these people, or I have to be knowledgeable and add to their knowledge as well. And that's how you make it easier to do so, because you're in the right environment and you don't need to push yourself too much because people push you. Another trick would be reading multiple books at the same time. I often have like multiple non-fiction and fiction at the same time because I know that sometimes my brain is in a different gear, and sometimes I don't know whether or not I can read non-fiction because it doesn't fit my mood. And it just makes it so much easier because you have multiple options to choose from. You can choose any kind of book based on the mood that you're in. Something else that really helped the process become easier was to read ebooks. And as you might know, there are so many books that you can just like read for free. So you can read it without any cost or risk. You're not buying it to have that pressure upon you. And it's so much easier to just like, whenever you don't feel like the book is for you, just close it off and try to open another book. And I have this rule, which is if I read 50 pages of a book and I don't feel that it's for me, then I am going to just stop reading. And I don't have any shame about it. It's just, it gets me into reading even more because now I know that that book was not for me, and I go on to read books that are absolutely lovely. You don't have much time in your life, so it's better for you to read books that are absolutely beneficial for you and to not stick to books that you don't feel connected to. And when I am not in the mood for reading, I try to go for books that are shorter or that are easier to read. Rereading is also another trick that you can use to make reading easier so that you can stick to it for a longer period of time. And it is like an appetizer. You're just doing it because you know that after that you will be able to read hard books. And the last tip that I have for you is very much like one of the other tips that I just explained, which is to remind yourself of reading by designing your room in a way that is surrounded by books. So you can have a library, you can have just bookshelf in your room, and having books around you, just like it's a constant visual reminder that you need to be reading these books. And it's been really advantageous for me because now whenever I feel like resting, I just see these books and I just go on to read and pick one of them so that I am relaxing in a very productive way. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope that it was helpful to you, and I would really appreciate it if you just comment like what you think about my videos, because I am doing these videos just for me, kind of like a reminder to myself, but at the same time sharing it so that other people actually find value out of it. And it would really make me happy if you could just like give me a feedback about how this video might have been helpful to you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next time.